Hello everyone and welcome back to Fantasy Football Fix. My name is FPL Phillips and it's time for my Game Week 5 team reveal. Now we have a few days to go until the deadline, but I thought it was time I bring to you my latest transfer thoughts and also my decision regarding the captain's armband for this week. We're also going to touch on the top 10 predicted point scorers of Game Week 5, so make sure to watch the whole video and stay tuned for that throughout the course of it. But without any further ado, let's get into things and have a look at how my team is shaping up for Game Week 5. So I currently sit inside the top 200k in the world, and a quick reminder that, of course, this early on in the season, we're all very bunched together in terms of points, and that means that a small amount of points can make a big difference to your rank, and you can get some big-looking numbers, even not being very far behind the top 100k, top 50k, top 10k at all. So do take your number in terms of rank with a pinch of salt at the moment. Don't base any rash transfer decisions off that, is my advice. But I'm sure you guys watching are all experienced FPL managers and know that. But if you're not, just a gentle reminder. So far, yeah, very happy with my start to the season then. Got 2.8 million in the bank with one transfer to play with, so my decision is going to be whether or not I want to use that transfer, first of all, and if so, where am I going to use it in my side? Because there are a few candidates for players that I do want to transfer out and replace, and also players that I would really like to bring into my side. In goal is one of those decisions where I'm probably going to leave it just one more week. I'm going to start Matt Turner in goal for Nottingham Forest. Nice home fixture up against Burnley, with Sam Johnston dropping down onto the bench, where he has a tougher away game against Aston Villa. So that's my call this week. I'm hoping that he'll continue to start in goal for Nottingham Forest Turner. There is that slight risk with him, and there's also a risk with Johnston down the line, with Dean Henderson now signing for Crystal Palace. I can only really assume and hypothesise that Henderson's been brought in with some kind of guarantee of game time in that Palace side. But Hodgson has seemed to really like Johnston, so it's a thing where info is going to be very valuable. I'm going to have a look at the Game Week 5 press conferences, have a look maybe at the Game Week 6 press conferences as well before making any decision in that regard. But it could be an argument for rolling the free transfer, as having two next week would allow me to make an outfield change, as well as maybe switching over my goalkeeper, like Johnston, to someone maybe like a Flecken, or bringing in someone even like a Leno, although he does have a nice fixture this week against Luton, which maybe I'd capitalise on. Overall, if I could pick a goalkeeper partnership to own right now, it would be Leno and Areola. I just don't feel that confident using two free transfers on goalkeepers when the wild card isn't that far away. For me, it's probably looking around Game Week 9. There's not that much upside to changing your goalkeeper pairing, and I will probably just wait and do that other wild card and try and chase some big points returns in the few game weeks I've got until that point, if that makes sense. So I'd rather use those transfers on attackers to target some great fixtures and do it by that way, and then just use my two free transfers for on the wild card, so use the unlimited ones to change my goalkeepers about and all that rubbish. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the goalkeeper situation at the moment. Maybe I'll change over Johnston next week, but for now, very happy to stick with this combination, and hopefully Turner gets the nod once more in the Forest game against Burnley. In the defence then, I'm looking relatively happy with this. Estupinian is the big question mark, basically, when you can sense my tone being a little bit questioning of him. He's very much reliant on attacking returns at the moment, unfortunately, as a source of FPL points for him. And away against Manchester United, there could be a chance of that. They are weakened by injuries at the moment. But overall, I do want to have a defender who I've got some hope of a clean sheet for, really. I could normally start Henry over Estupinian in a fixture like this, but unfortunately Brentford go up against Newcastle away, which is probably a fixture I'm even less confident in, so Henry does sit first on the bench currently. A very, very slim argument for starting Kabore up against Fulham, but I would just rather start Estupinian and hope that maybe he can grab a jammy assist or something like that. Chilwell is another one I'm going to start in this game against Bournemouth, of course, but is another one that I'm a little bit worried about. He has been getting substituted early quite a number of times. Because he's playing in such an attacking role, he has been subbed off for the likes of Mudryk and other attacking players who do come in as left-hand side. And I've seen a couple of murmurs, Chelsea fans are being disgruntled with how Chilwell is playing at the moment, not offering too much to the team. And if you're going to play a player so outward defence and in such an attacking role, then maybe you just start one of those many forward options Chelsea have brought in over the last year or so ahead of Ben Chilwell. So maybe we'll see that down the line, but for now, short term, I'm happy with him. Would have liked some more points over the last couple of weeks, but I'm hoping my patience will be rewarded and me and the fellow Chilwell owners will be due some points in good time. And then finally, Adogi, who I'm hoping is one that will provide me with some decent points in this game up against Sheffield United at home. Again, clean sheets have been hard to come by this year, but this is one where you just do have to back the side. And Spurs, if they do get some goals in this game, which you'd assume they're going to, maybe Udogie could be involved in those as well. I still do prefer him over Porro and Romero, who's, despite that, him getting 2 goals already this season. One thing I would just bear in mind with Spurs defenders is if you maybe already own one and you're considering transferring in another one, then do be advised that you will be blocking off getting Maddison and Son in your midfield if you're going for 2 Spurs defenders like Udogie and Porro, for example, because you can't own 4 Spurs players. As we know, you can only own 3 from each team. In my midfield, I do already own one of those Spurs midfielders. James Maddison sits at the centre of my midfield 5 in this one. Not the best fixtures on paper for this midfield, but if I was going to sacrifice one of them this week, it would be Phil Foden, if he would leave the team, for Heung-min Son, who can come in. I can afford to upgrade basically any of them to Heung-min Son, so very happy with that. It's going to be Mbeumo, who is my cheapest midfielder. Very happy to hold on to all these guys, really. I'm happy with Rashford moving out onto the left. Bukayo Saka, still looking relatively good in terms of numbers. And Mbeumo, again, probably the best FPL asset to own for the season so far. 4 goals in 4 games. And yeah, that only leaves Phil Foden, really, who is a bit of a minutes risk at the moment. They've got Champions League starting, of course. Grealish off the left. Doku coming in. Bernardo. They've got a lot of players, basically. And I knew Foden was a minutes risk when I brought him in. But what I did bring him in were those kind of 14-point hauls that we saw from Alvarez last game week. So if Foden's not providing those any game weeks, and he has been ticking along relatively nicely, but I'm in it for the ceiling, really, and at the moment, Foden is not providing any double-digit hauls. I'm hoping that can change, but if I was going to have to make the transfer, I think it would be Foden who I sacrificed for Heung-min Son this week with that 1 free transfer. And then finally, up front, we do have Erling Haaland alongside Nicholas Jackson at Bournemouth. But yeah, Haaland is the one taking my captain's armband at the moment, but if I were to bring in Heung-min Son, would I captain him? Let's discuss that now. And with this captaincy metrics, I'm going to bring in Mohamed Salah alongside the 2 who I've mentioned, so Erling Haaland and Heung-min Son in this graphic as well. The thing that you kind of have to say with Son straight away is that a lot of his data, so the expected FPL points that add up things like XG and XA and expected clean sheets and all that stuff to kind of accumulate an expected FPL point score over just what they have scored per 90 this season, is going to be influenced by Son playing on the left wing over the first 3 game weeks rather than in this striker role. And it's a small sample size anyway, 4 game weeks, but when you consider Son's played 3 of those in a position completely different to what we're going to see from him in this number 9 role, then you have to take the data, of course, with a big pinch of salt. The thing with Ange is that he's been pretty open and transparent so far, and I'm hopeful that we'll maybe get some clarity on whether Son will continue to play this position. They have got Richarlison at the number 9, who can come back in. They've got Brennan Johnson as well, who I'm still yet to kind of find a concrete conclusion on whether he'll be playing off the left or whether he could provide an option through the middle as well in competition for the number 9 role. But all things do point at the moment towards Son being the number 9. They also point towards him having penalties. He just looks like a brilliant option at the moment, and for the 9 million or whatever that you're spending in him as a midfielder, he looks fantastic. Maybe this game isn't the one for Son is something I've seen people argue as well, despite the fact that the expected goals conceded tally for Sheffield United is the worst out of the bunch, indicating that they're the weakest defence that you can see there on the 4th row down in the table. I think that statistically, if we look at the analysis of the actual game itself, if Sheffield United are to drop deep and play a low block, maybe that could lend itself more to Maddison, with there being less space in behind. Heung-min Son might not get as many chances in this game, and when we do have a lack of data, it is good to use the eye test. And for that kind of game, I think that maybe Son could provide an even better option in the games up against the teams like Liverpool, who Spurs are facing next. Maybe those kind of games could be the one. So I'm not looking at the fixtures thinking they have Sheffield United this week, I need Son in for this one. It's not worth it if I'm bringing him in for Arsenal or Liverpool in the next games. I am willing to be patient because I do think those fixtures could arguably be a little bit stronger for Heung-min Son. And Erling Haaland is the one who's going to take my captain's armband this week. Either way, 6.6 predicted points for him for the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm. Man City performing the best as a team. As you can see there, XG 2.16 per 90 compared to Spurs' 2.02. And Liverpool not too far behind Spurs on 1.96 per 90 as well. And in terms of individually, Son's data is skewed by those games played in the left wing position. Salah 7.03 and Erling Haaland 8.84. So I think either boat you're in, basically. Everyone owns Haaland. I think you should captain Haaland this week, and that is my analysis of it. I don't think that I'm going to try and persuade you otherwise. I just thought it was an interesting discussion. The thing around Heung-min Son and whether this Sheffield United fixture is going to be quite as amazing as people are making out is something that could come back to bite me with the things that I have said. Son, if he's playing in the number 9 role, is something that I do really, really love. And I think that there are just a few little doubts and nibbles that could potentially lead me to leave it a week and just have 2 free transfers next week, which, as I mentioned with some of the other positions, wanting to maybe change them, the likes of Johnston in goal for me, Estupinian maybe one for the door as well, I think it could be valuable to maybe leave it 1 more week. We'll move on to the top predicted point scorers then of this week. So the top 10 for Game Week 5 in terms of projections. Erling Haaland comes in top, which is unsurprising, 6.6. We've seen Salah and Son already as well. Coming in fourth, actually tied with Heung-min Son on 5.5 is our Nai, who faces Burnley at home, of course, as we saw with Turner. Forest are taking on Burnley this week. He's performed really, really well so far this season, and one that has definitely proven me wrong. If you saw the top forwards video that we did at the start of the season, Awanai was one that was in there, but I think like many other people out there, I was kind of a little bit put off by those fixtures, and he has come through and scored in those games. So Awanai has looked fantastic. I really like him as a pick. If you're choosing to go there, then I wish you the best of luck, because I think he's a brilliant asset, and I think you deserve to be rewarded with your bravery. Saka on 5.2, and they got Maddison on 5.1. Gibbs White, another Nottingham Forest asset, coming in at 5.0. The algorithms seem to really like him recently. We've then got Leno on 4.9 predicted points for this week, as Fulham have that nice home game against Luton. Vicario of Spurs, and then Odegaard on 4.7. So not too far behind Bukayo Saka in that away game against Everton for Arsenal. But yeah, 0.5 predicted points is quite a significant gap, really. But yeah, that is going to wrap up things really with regard to my team reveal and my transfer plans and thoughts for this game week. Let me know what you guys would do if you had the 1 free transfer that I have, the money in the bank, and the option to kind of do Foden to Son this week for free. Or do you think it's worth being patient with my free transfer, rolling it over and having 2 next week? I am a little bit more inclined to go aggressive at this point in the season when I do have a wild card coming up, you know, in around game week 9. So if I do have that there, which is looking more and more likely, maybe it's worth using a transfer a week earlier just to get that extra gain out of it. I know I said that this fixture might not be the best one in the world for Son in terms of returns, but I do think that it will be a good game for Spurs. And although a team like Burnley, who have come in and played attacking football and left space in behind, might not be what we see in Sheffield United, it's hard to back against a team as attacking as Spurs and as good as they have looked when they're going up a team as defensively poor as Sheffield United have seemed over the first couple of game weeks, especially when it's a home game. So yeah, let me know what you guys would do. Would you do Foden to Son? Would you roll a free transfer? Would you even do a defensive change instead? Maybe Estupinian out for someone else. I could even do Kabore out, but that seems unlikely now, given that they've got a game week 7 double game week. I'll probably be hanging on to him. So yeah, that's going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Leave any questions you've got regarding your own FPL teams down below in the comments, and I will try my best to get back to you. But I hope to catch you in the next one. Well, we'll see you tomorrow for Eddie versus the algorithm for those who will be tuning in. If you haven't checked out the series, make sure to do so. It's on the channel. Link down below where you can subscribe, and you can catch that one tomorrow. So I'll see you there, and goodbye.